Thank you, sir. Ms. Loving.
I thank the chairman and this committee for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Sabina Loving. I am the owner and president of Loving Tax Services, an independent tax preparation firm on Chicago's South Side. I am the Loving in the Loving versus IRS lawsuit that successfully challenged an IRS power grab that would have posed national licensing on tax preparers. I'm a small businesswoman trying to stay afloat in the economy while helping people with their tax preparation and building up my community. I should have the right to earn an honest living doing what I love, and so should my employees. Equally important, my customers, not the IRS, should be the ones who decide who prepares their taxes. You almost never hear the IRS or anyone who advocates for tax preparer licensing talking about me or my co-plaintiffs when they talk about the Loving case. It is almost as though they forget that we are real people who are actually being harmed by the anti-competitive IRS licensing scheme. But there are about 300,000 independent tax preparation entrepreneurs like me, many of whom would have been forced to close their businesses. So today, I would like to share my story with you to help you understand how overregulation affects real entrepreneurs like me, why I sued the IRS, and why Congress should not give the IRS new power to license tax preparers. I am a native of Chicago who is blessed to earn a living doing what I love, helping people with their taxes. In 2011, I opened my business, Loving Tax Services, on Chicago's South Side, where there is high unemployment and foreclosure rates. My business was the first to occupy a storefront in at least a dozen years. I've been fortunate enough to employ several people in my community and bring money back into our neighborhood. Ever since I was young, I wanted to be an accountant and work with numbers. I dreamed of one day being able to start my own business. I worked hard to make my dream a reality. I worked full-time as an accountant for major financial firms for nearly a decade. The economic downturn hit my industry so hard, so I decided to take this as an opportunity to realize my American dream. I put myself to work as an independent tax preparer while earning a master's degree. I formed Loving Tax Services in 2010, and I never looked back. Tax preparation is a seasonal industry, and my business model depended on flexibility. Fortunately, I was able to find qualified people who could assist me seasonally. But just as my business was taking off, I learned that the IRS was going to force tax preparers to jump through a bunch of hoops in order to allow them to continue earning a living preparing taxes. For the first time in 100 years, the IRS was imposing a license to prepare tax returns. We would have to pass an IRS-mandated exam, complete continuing education requirements each year. The license will give the IRS great control over tax preparers, making us dependent on the most powerful federal agency for our livelihoods. It also imposed additional costs and burdens on my business, which I would have to pass on to my customers in the form of higher prices. I pride myself in offering lower prices than the major tax firms. I didn't want to raise my prices, but I couldn't afford to make any lower profits. Higher prices meant fewer customers. But if my business shrank, I wouldn't be able to hire people to help me during the tax season. That would put me at a competitive disadvantage to the major tax firms, where we're likely to get my customers, I was going to lose. This licensing requirement didn't apply to everyone. CPAs and attorneys were exempt, even if they had never taken a course in tax law or tax preparation. Even though I had a decade of experience in accounting, I was not a CPA, so I was not exempt. Powerful industry groups lobbied for another exemption. Anyone who was being supervised by an attorney or a CPA could also prepare returns without a license. I wanted the opportunity to hire more employees and supervise them as tax preparers so I could expand my business and serve more of my community. But I didn't write the rules, so I didn't get a special exemption. I knew that this new license would not do anything to protect consumers, that there are already all sorts of laws on the books to do just that. Instead, it protects big tax preparation chains, CPAs, from competition by smaller businesses like mine, many of whom would have been forced to close or shrink their businesses. The end result would be fewer options and higher prices for taxpayers. So that's why I sued the IRS. And I was represented pro bono by the lawyers at the Institute for Justice. Thankfully, we won. But the IRS and big tax preparation chains keep pushing Congress to expand IRS power. After we won the case, several bills were introduced that would authorize tax preparer licensing. Just 2 weeks ago, the Senate Finance Committee announced one proposal. But a national license for taxpayers was a bad policy then, and it's a bad policy now. It is anti-competitive, anti-consumer, and will hurt small businesses like mine. I urge the Senate not to give the IRS any more power and to vote against any bill that would authorize the IRS to license tax preparers. Thank you very much for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Ms. Loving, for that powerful testimony.